expressions as a Kenyan norm, so that we can perform Article 37 of our Constitution, which is one of the heartbeats of Kenya, on assembly, on demonstrations, on picketing, and on petition, which have at times turned deadly. We can turn that article into the lifeblood of our democracy. We know that the violence that has taken place has taken lives of civilians, of citizens, the majority of whom did nothing wrong but to turn out to express themselves. We also know that a number of our law enforcement people, without whom there is no country, have also suffered. And I want to make sure that people understand that the law enforcement people are also our fellow citizens. They are our children. They are our brothers. They are our fathers. And we equally feel for them, those who have been affected. Why are we undertaking this initiative? This initiative launches a national process to transform our political and our human rights culture around the rights of assembly and speech. It is just but one limb of transitional justice: compensation and reparations, institutional reform, appropriate prosecutions and accountability, access to justice in the courts, which my able vice chair has talked about, and law and policy reform. These are the other limbs of the transitional justice matrix. I want to echo my vice chair's emphasis that this particular effort is victim-centered. It is impartial, and it is non-partisan. It is apolitical. It is not an exercise in political expediency. It is a heartfelt exercise in which we intend as a country to lead not just with the head, but to lead with the heart. I admit and I concede that this exercise is not a replacement for criminal investigations or the oversight by the bodies that are mandated by our Constitution to conduct that process of oversight. I want to assure that where evidence warrants, matters must be taken to court through the office of the Director of Public Prosecutions and other bodies. I want to emphasize also my firm belief that this work complements the mandate of IPOA, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. It does not seek to replace it or to usurp it. It supplements the work of those institutions, including the work of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, of the National Police Service, the NPS, of the Ministry of Health, and I'm glad to see Dr. Denda here, of civil society, and of our faith communities. I want to outline what our operating principles are going to be. We shall be guided by the very concept of Ubuntu, or human dignity. That I am because we are. That the loss of one life is an irreparable damage to our society. The principle and the norm of fairness, of non-discrimination, of equal protection under the law, of confidentiality, and of due process. We shall conduct evidence-based verification of victims, be they fatalities or be they those who suffered life-altering injuries. And we will do this primarily to deter fraud and to protect the integrity of the scheme that we have launched today. We shall be guided by the principle of inclusivity, in which, as I have said before, in which civilians and officers alike, those who are harmed by actions outside the law, will fall within the scope and the mandate of this panel of experts. The big picture is that this exercise is unprecedented in our country. It is bold. And I want to say that the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. Judge us by what we do, not what we say. Judge us by what we do, not what we say. We will talk less so that our actions can speak louder. Our goal is to break the cycle of violence in this country. Let me repeat that. Our goal is to break the cycle of violence in this country so that we can entrench a culture of peaceful, rights-respecting protest. You know, in my other life, I live in New York. And almost every other day, protesters are just passed outside my house, chanting, saying, down with this person, down with that person. I have never seen a shot fired against them. They shout, sometimes they shout themselves hoarse, and they go home, having made their point. So that's what we want to do. We want to get to that point whereby we can go out in the street unarmed as civilians, because that's a requirement of Article 37. Protesters cannot carry arms or weapons. Protesters cannot attack property or their fellow citizens or law enforcement. We want to make sure that both protesters and law enforcement abide by the norms of civility during protests. I want to invite our friends in civil society who have expressed some reservations at times. We know that the majority of civil society friends support us, but some are skeptical. We ask them to give us a chance. We ask them to walk with us, shoulder to shoulder, so that we can prove to them that indeed we can deliver for the people of this country. We want to ask our faith leaders to come along with us and indeed to pray for us. And we want to ask our professional societies and organizations, including the Law Society of Kenya. Faith is here by herself. She is not the Law Society of Kenya. But we want to ask her, and through her, to bring the Law Society of Kenya to the table to help us. It is not a job for just the committee that's assembled here. And we want to ask all Kenyans, governments and citizens alike, to rally behind the work so that we can heal as a country, so that we can learn as a country, and so that we can reform as a nation. Before I close, I want to ask for a minute of silence. If you can all stand up. I want to ask for a minute of silence for those whom we lost and those who were injured. I ask you to bow your heads in respect. I ask you to be seated. Let that moment of silence turn into an eternity in memory of those who were lost and those who were injured. I want to close by saying this, that the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency William Samoei Ruto, has given his personal commitment to this panel and to us and to me, that this will be a just, a transparent, and a compassionate process that honors our victims, their families, and their loved ones. It is the only pathway to strengthening our democracy and to building a resilient country that cares for its people, its citizens. I thank you all.
Thank you very much, Professor, for those powerful remarks. Could you please give him another round of applause? It's now my honor and privilege to welcome the Honorable Chief Registrar of the Judiciary to make her remarks. Sergio.
Thank you, Honorable Esther Nyayaki, Registrar in the Office of the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, for leading us successfully up to this moment in this program. Professor Makau Mutua, Senior Advisor, Constitutional Affairs and Human Rights in the Executive Office of the President, Madam Faith Odhiambo, President of the Law Society of Kenya, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon.
This is a great day for this country. It is a great day for the people of Kenya. And let me begin by congratulating you all on your appointment to this solemn and unprecedented role. This assignment is central to the foundational tenets of our Bill of Rights. Ladies and gentlemen, we remember that a few days ago, and precisely within this venue, we marked 15 years since Kenyans gave themselves the 2010 Constitution. That milestone reminded us that the Katiba is not a relic of history, but a living charter. And today, by swearing in this distinguished panel, we are demonstrating in practice that the Constitution is alive, that this Constitution has breadth and is responsive to the needs of the people of Kenya. In this regard, let me also join Professor in commending His Excellency the President for considering and appointing this distinguished panel, an act that is both timely and courageous. It is an affirmation of accountability and a clear reminder that the Constitution is and must remain the supreme law of the land. Kenya's Constitution has rightly been hailed as one of the most progressive in Africa and the world. Nothing demonstrates this better than the duty entrusted to you to vindicate the sanctity of the rights that are enshrined in it. The compensation process that you are about to oversee will be one of the clearest reassurances to Wanjiku that the rights guaranteed in the Constitution are not abstract promises, but binding obligations. It affirms that the state must respect, protect, and fulfill rights, and that where it fails, accountability must follow. But even as we recognize this important step, we must pause and acknowledge the profound pain of families who lost their sons and daughters in the protests. No amount of compensation can ever fill the void of a lost child, a sibling, a parent, or a friend. These are wounds that time alone cannot heal. Yet, because accountability is the bedrock of justice, this process is a necessary step, an affirmation that their loss will not be forgotten and that the Constitution has room for redress when rights are violated. Across the world, history has shown us that while no compensation can ever restore what is lost, the act of redress stands as a solemn recognition of dignity, accountability, and justice. And today, by swearing in the panel, we send the same clear message to Kenyans that the Constitution lives and that their pain will never be ignored. When I look at the membership of this panel, together with the technical team, I see experience and expertise of the highest order. The chair, Professor Makau Mutua, brings with him a distinguished record as a founding chair of the Kenya Human Rights Commission and as one of our country's foremost human rights scholars of constitutional law. Alongside him, the chair of the Law Society of Kenya stands as a steadfast advocate of human rights and constitutionalism in this country. I also recognize the Senior Counsel Ogeto, Yuton Irungu, and the rest of the team. The collective experience that is represented in the entire team is truly remarkable. The country could not have asked for better because these are the best brains that we have in terms of defending human rights. And therefore, your competence inspires confidence. And this is a clear reassurance to the public that accountability and justice will be pursued with diligence, fairness, and integrity. And I like what Professor Mutua, you have said, that judge us by what we do and not what we say. That is a profound and remarkable statement. And indeed, Kenyans are looking up to the fulfillment of that promise. We must, however, be candid about the road ahead. Rebuilding trust and verifying the beneficiaries and securing sustainable funding will be challenging. And that is why this process must be anchored in legislation to guarantee consistency, transparency, and enforceability beyond what prevails in the day. I note with encouragement that your terms of reference include proposing legislative and institutional reforms that go to the root causes of protests that often turn violent. This is more than a backward glance. It is an opportunity to diagnose and recommend lasting solutions, giving true effect to Article 37 and the related rights. I am confident that this panel has the expertise, the courage, and the wisdom to seize this moment. As the generation that has been privileged to sit in the front row of the birth and implementation of this Constitution, we owe it to posterity to water this still young constitutional tree. In the words of one of the historians, Timothy Snyder, he said that if we want constitutional rule, right now is the right time to mount its defense. My hope is that through your work, we shall carefully exhume the painful skeletons of violent protests, confront them honestly, and finally bury their ashes, assuring the nation that such episodes belong firmly to the past. As I conclude, let me once again congratulate you on your appointment. Today, you step into uncharted waters, but you do so as guardians of the promise that this Katiba lives. May wisdom and courage guide you in this crucial and momentous assignment. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chief Registrar, for those very inspiring remarks, reminding the panel of the heavy constitutional duty that is ahead of them, and wishing them the best, and assuring them that the judiciary will support. We have now come to the end of the swearing-in ceremony. I will now request our communications team to guide us on taking one photo right here, and to request our Honorable Chief Registrar to please be upstanding as the communication team arranges the space ahead. Thank you very much, and may you have a good day. God bless. So the photo is for the entire panel, including the technical lead and the joint secretary, together with the Chief Registrar. Thank you.
So we have the one photo on this side and then one on the other side.
All the members and the technical team, simama nyuma tu.
Thank you.